Passengers should get out from passport control, first floor, to the final departure lounge.
For passengers Bailey, Gill and Alfred, please go immediately to gate 53, where the flight is now closing.
At a time when commercial aviation is in a state of exceptional turmoil, we're going to take a candid, behind-the-scenes look at one airline here in the United States of America. Now, it happens that the airline is the largest in the Western world, but the problems it faces and the opportunities are much like those faced by any other airline anywhere in the world.
United Airlines, paging Mrs. Nellie.
Throughout its 60-year history, the airline industry has been highly unstable. It's hiccuped from boom to bust and back again, living on an economic knife edge. And that's been true even here in the most mobile nation on Earth, where the aeroplane is second in importance only to the motor car. In North America today, successive shifts of fortune have left the traveling public and the airline operators little less than breathless.
How about flight number 93? I'll take one.
It's a 10:30 departure, and they'll serve a luncheon on the trip.
Oh.
Have a good trip.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Where would you prefer to sit, smoking or not smoking?
We're on a window seat, not near the engine.
Throughout the world, 1978 was a year that astonished the airlines. They lowered their fares, and behold, business boomed. Despite the well-known capitalist doctrine that bargain prices lead to higher demand, neither the airlines nor the airports were really prepared to cope with the resulting passenger explosion. This was Chicago's O'Hare Airport in August of 1978. The busiest airport in the world during the busiest month of its history. For week after week that summer, flights were totally jammed. The explanation was simple. With government controls relaxed, the airlines were able to offer a tempting new range of discount fares that filled the planes as never before. But often the daily fare of the air traveller was delay, frustration, misconnections and lost baggage. But if things were difficult for passengers, how much more so for those who struggled to run the airports?
Okay, our tower frequency is 120.75. American 194, you can make the right turn in behind your company Trijet. United 975, hold short of the north-south. He needs to make a right turn where you're at. Can you make a left turn in there? 57 Hotel, just stay on that circular taxiway going all the way around.
Proceeding out very slowly, as you might well realize, to the southwest runway for takeoff. Quite a bit of traffic this morning, as usual, both inbound and outbound, and the ground control has their hands full of aircraft moving in all directions, and we're proceeding under their direction.
Delta 1701, follow Wisconsin, taxi into position and hold. Continental 903, taxi into position and hold on runway 32 left from T1. Continental 33, 330 heading, maintain 4, call departure. Delta 1151's cleared for takeoff. But we got a traffic jam. Yeah, let me look. I think the jumbo's coming out now.
Going out the right, 32 left.
Okay, he's going out the right. Just wait right there, United 447, that company jumbo is coming out. United 929. After the company jumbo comes out, the company from your right goes in, straight in. 789, you do the same. Kilo 7, taxi real slow. They got 110 and one tri-jet out of there. And what I want you to do is make a right turn, go to the inner, and just hold short of the inner so people can get by on the cargo.
Delta 723, you go out behind Continental. Company's going to wait for you. American 550 behind that United tri-motor. Go ahead and get on the inner circular.
Hey, United 447, continue straight ahead on the inner for me, sir.
American 458, follow the Allegheny 9 that's coming out from the left. United 356 at Orange Branos, moving out of your way. Keep it up as tight as you can. American 550, Allegheny 210, just as tight as you possibly can over the bridge. I am out of room now, Tower 118-1.
American 54, hold short of the bypass. Traffic 12 o'clock coming up your way is going to go down the bypass. 789, disregard what I told you. Make a right turn, take the cargo in the outer taxi very slow. 447, how did I forget about you? Jesus Christ. Echo Hotel today. He's rolling.
Fishman, flip Delta and Braniff around.
United 562, turn right, heading 070. Call departure, good day.
Can Air France wait for the military off his right side to go across
Yeah,
right to right?
I'm trying to get everybody out of here. Jetta Bay 250, I didn't forget about you sitting there. Wait for a company, I believe it's company tri-jet coming down from your right. I can't tell who it is down there. Get on the cargo right behind him. American 340, turn right to 070. Start to turn as soon as feasible. Call departure.
Come on, Roger. Ready to go.
Bye-bye.
Answer 02. You're cleared for takeoff. Turn right heading 140. Takeoff 140 heading 02. 06 Foxtrot, you're cleared for takeoff. Runway heading 1,800 feet. 06 Fox, what's your position now? 06 Fox, I'm taking off. Sorry.
As the system strained to satisfy the new demand, market research identified the new traveller as someone with enough spare time and cash to fly off in search of fun. With that in mind, it's not too difficult to guess where many were heading.
It's a desolate spot out here in the middle of the desert, where the temperature today is nearly 120 degrees. A place that could have only developed the way it has because of the aeroplane. It is Las Vegas.
This search for pleasure, this burgeoning market in dreams, is the airline's bonanza. And if Las Vegas is the ultimate dream machine, then the airlines are only too happy to provide the magic carpet. Step aboard, and the illusion that you've arrived before you ever started is inescapable.
Came back even a couple times. That's the same as winning. That's good as winning, right? Yeah. Come back even, you're winning.
That's 7-11. Right on, 7-11. That's what I'm looking for on them days.
This is our honeymoon.
Your honeymoon?
Yes.
You were married when?
Saturday.
2 years to finalize, and a week ago was divorced. Now I'm going to play.
So I'm going to be the mother hen to all the 3 young chicks.
That's a big responsibility.
So the only reason their husbands let them go is because Auntie Roe is going to take care of them. I don't know who's going to take care of Auntie Roe, though.
At a time when the airline operators suddenly came up with the jackpot, nowhere was the satisfaction greater than at the Chicago headquarters of United Airlines. Although it operates only in North America, United is the largest commercial airline in the Western world. Under its youthful president, Richard Ferris, it enjoyed in '78 its most profitable year ever.
Good morning, David. How are you? Good. Dave, I just had a chance to read the quarterly report. You get to the section on the entire order of 60 aircraft, all right? I think that section ought to be expanded to tell what we totally have on order, all right? How many have been delivered, and then
With more than 50,000 employees and 364 jet aircraft, United used to be called the sleeping giant, till Ferris came in from running a chain of hotels and shook it into vigorous life. How does he account for the recent record-breaking results?
Travel is very price sensitive. And when you have a father and a mother and 2 children, when you can take the fare and cut it by 40%, their propensity to travel is increased greatly. And they relate that in their mind to all the other things that they can buy with their disposable income, and that value to them looks awfully good. I saw a cute thing the other day, was a cartoon by a political cartoonist in one of our newspapers, and it showed a hot air balloon going way up in the air, and across it was written inflation for all the goods and services everybody's buying. It was filled with cows, ducks, and geese and everything, but there was one thing different about it. It showed a little fellow bailing out in a parachute and coming down, and that's airfares. I chuckle with Freddie Laker. We've supported Mr. Laker all along. You know, I say let him fly where he wishes, when he wishes. I think competition is a wonderful thing, and I think competition is producing these benefits.
But it's also producing a barrage of complaints. Do cheaper fares inevitably mean discomfort and inconvenience, the customer wants to know. Daily, a word processor spews out the soft answers that try to turn aside wrath. For years, United has prided itself on providing a more personal style of service. In today's crowded skies, perhaps it's a thing of the past.
We've established standards of service or quality of service for all major contact points that the customer has contact with United. Now, we aren't achieving those right now today because of the tremendous volumes, but we're moving as rapidly as we can to get our service levels back to where we want them and where our customer wants them. And for example, just one area, reservations. Right now it's very difficult to get through to our reservation offices to make a reservation. And then when you do, you might find that the flight's full, whereas it used to not be full.
So you're traveling on Super Coach, which is $99. Okay. Those seats are all sold out for that day.
Tom, I've got somebody on the phone asking whether or not 193 was hijacked. 193 to Honolulu. It's late.
195 this morning had a sabotage quit. That's LA, Honolulu, but there's nothing on 193.
United Airlines reservations, Chuck Tomlin.
Yes, sir. I'd like to find out about your passage from O'Hare to LaGuardia.
Certainly.
Can you tell me if I were to leave on the 8th of August, could I get in on any Super Saver type of deal?
On the 8th of August? Not as far as the Super Saver goes. There is an excursion rate, however, that I could offer you.
It's unreal. Everybody wants a bargain, which I can understand that. I don't blame them for that. But nowadays, we're getting a lot of business, but by the time you get through explaining regular coach, super coach, excursion, YEW 88, 2056, ADQ 57, you've spent at least a half hour on one person. They're aggravated because they can't get in to make a reservation. And of course, after we listen to their complaints, they'll come on the phone. I was on the phone, I've been waiting a half hour to get through to you. They spend 10 minutes complaining that they couldn't get through, and we're doing nothing but wasting times. Oh, if they think they've had it up here, let me ever tell you, we've had it pretty good too. Never have I seen anything like this.
The biggest private telephone exchange in the country can't cope with the bargain hunters.
Hello. You have reached United Airlines special telephone number. At present, there is a brief delay in servicing your call, but one of our agents will be available to help you shortly. Thank you for your patience. Please stay on the line.
Hopefully, Mozart can persuade the caller to hang on.
We have no way of measuring the business that went away simply because we could not answer the phones in the manner that we would like to do it. We do not know how many impatiently hung up who wanted to give us a cancellation so we could resell that seat.
You do have some way, though, don't you, of measuring the number of people that simply abandon their efforts?
Yes, after the call is once received and by our telephone system, we are able to measure that, and that measurement now is running about 31% as compared to the normal 6%.
There are still a few destinations in the United States which don't require a reservation. Ely, Nevada is one of them. This former cow town in the dusty outback is best known for its 3 casinos and a handful of legalized brothels. Despite these attractions, the town could still be best described as a backwater. And yet, Ely, Nevada enjoys the luxury of a daily scheduled air service. Fine for the locals, but disastrous for the airline. United loses $2 million a year flying this route, but it cannot abandon or even reduce the service. This apparent commercial madness is firmly rooted in the past, when the government, in the shape of the Civil Aeronautics Board, brought the airline industry under tight control. If the board licensed an airline to fly a particular route, then the service had to be maintained whether it paid or not. Next stop from Ely, it's the same story. Except that here, the lucky crew member, whose name on the nose wheel is touching the tarmac, is likely to scoop more cash from the kitty than the airline will get from the one passenger waiting to embark.
31, 35, and 40.
For years, United has attempted to abandon this route, but always the regulations have stood in the way. Dick Ferris, like his friend Freddie Laker, wants an end to all these government controls which restrict competition.
Okay, thanks, Lee. See you inside.
And he takes every opportunity to argue the case.
The gentleman who is going to address us now, he is today the single most important, most influential, most powerful airline executive in the world. There's no doubt about it. And he's all ours. Ladies and gentlemen, Dick Ferris.
You know, government regulation began back in the 18th century before Christ. And at that time it was called the Code of Hammurabi, and Hammurabi was the king of Babylonia. Give you an example. You had one regulation that said this. It said that if a builder built a house, and if the house fell down and killed anyone inside, the builder would be executed. Short, sweet, to the point. Well, I'll tell you something. It was clear, it was concise, and you sure as heck knew what the penalty was if you didn't comply. But oh, how have things changed. Today we have in the Federal Register 65,000 pages of fine print that tell us what we can and what we cannot do. The cost has been estimated of that regulation of $130 billion. The Federal Paperwork Commission estimated that the cost of just filling out the paper for all government regulation is $25 billion a year, and I believe that's somewhere around 1/3 of all corporate after-tax profits. You know, some regulation is just downright absurd. Just doesn't make sense. The car battery that is in your car it's either a household item or a consumer item, I can't remember. But because it comes under that regulatory body, there's had to been a label affixed to each and every car battery that's sold. And the cost of putting that label on costs about $5 million a year. And do you know what that label says? Do not drink the contents, may be hazardous to your health.
In Washington, government responded to the airline lobby. To head the Civil Aeronautics Board, they appointed Dr. Alfred Kahn, a man with reservations about the government role in business.
I certainly came in with a general feeling, a predisposition in favor of competition in this industry. But partly I have become so quickly convinced that regulation, economic regulation in this industry, is totally nonsensical. Within a very few months, I saw that I was being called upon to do things that made absolutely no sense. A pervasive, detailed kind of determination about prices and about who might fly where.
As you relax regulations, do you not have to find other means to protect the consumer?
Of course, regulation is in principle set up to protect consumers, but the kind of highly protectionist, restrictive regulation that the CAB represents, or the Interstate Commerce Commission, is much more to protect the carriers than to protect the public. And although it, of course, is rationalized on the ground that if you have strong carriers, if they are protected, then you'll get better service for the public, the fact remains that I think we have demonstrated that there was an enormous untapped demand for low-cost travel, and those people were not protected. In fact, they were thwarted by Freddie Laker having to knock on our doors and knock on the doors of your CAA for 9 years. Their response is demonstrated has demonstrated without any possible doubt that those travelers were not being protected, that they were being injured by regulation.
Dr. Khan achieved his purpose. Congress passed the legislation that is already a landmark in civil aviation. United States Airlines are now free to compete on routes and prices as never before.
Echo 6, 7645's got a first officer sliding window leaking.
As competition sharpens, some airlines may not survive. However much they cut their prices, there are strict limits on how far they can cut running costs, particularly where maintenance is concerned. Air safety still remains firmly under government control. The United States can fairly claim to have the safest airline network in the world. But even the toughest regulations can't banish all risk. These traces of blood are evidence of a bird strike. This DC-10 ran into a large flock of seagulls and several disintegrated in the engines. The consequences could have been catastrophic. In a recent 5-year period, bird strike accounted for 330 accidents in the United States, with a loss of more than 1,000 lives. This aircraft was grounded and minutely inspected for damage until finally passed airworthy. However, birds were not to blame when the engine fell from a DC-10 of American Airlines, causing it to crash here at O'Hare Airport with unprecedented loss of life. With the consequent grounding of all DC-10s worldwide, the taboo subject of air safety was again in the news. It's something that passengers don't like to think about and which airlines naturally play down. Statistically, we know that air travel is the safest. But perhaps we should also know that a great deal of money is spent preparing for the worst if the worst should happen. Realistic though it is, this is only a training exercise for United Airlines flight attendants, an annual refresher course in emergency procedures.
Jump, go, run! Move it! Come on! Exit, jump! Go!
Back there. Oh my God, this man just fainted. What do you do, number one, always? You don't know what's wrong. How do you make sure he's breathing?
Nearly 50 years ago, United was the first airline to employ air hostesses. They hired 8 young women, all trained nurses, to look after their passengers in flight. Today, they have 7,000 flight attendants, men and women. They're no longer nurses, they come from every kind of background. But still, they must cope with medical emergencies.
Feeling? You might even do this. Sir, wake up. Can you hear me? Nothing. He is not breathing. I have a pulse. His heart is beating. Right away, I'm going to do one. Mouth to mouth. All right. Any of you had the occasion to perform the Heimlich maneuver?
I didn't do it, actually. It was the flight attendant working the other side of the cart.
Mm-hmm.
And the man on the aisle was crying. And she leaned over and she said, "Something wrong, sir?" And he goes, "My friend next to me is choking to death." So we looked over and this man was just sitting there like this, you know, with his mouth open and wasn't doing anything. So she reached around behind him. We pulled the other guy out because he wouldn't move. He was hysterical. He was crying. So we had to get him out of the seat first. And then we did manage, the other guy was so fat we couldn't get him out of the seat. So we did manage to get in behind him with our arms and get down low enough. And it just came right out.
It's not one of these little dribbly things. It
really
comes out and pops.
Really
very effective.
We ruined his dinner and he asked for another tray, so...
It's all your fault.
The crises that airline people deal with are generally less dramatic. But as traffic has increased and stress mounted, drama of one kind or another has become a familiar feature of airport life.
All passengers arriving to Chicago for the first time, we wish to welcome you and advise you that we do have 4 claim areas here in Chicago.
All too often, the drama is a comedy of errors, with baggage in the leading role.
Claim areas 2 and 3, to find a corresponding claim area to your flight number.
Of necessity, air travel separates the traveller from most of his possessions. When that separation accidentally becomes permanent, the stage is set for conflict. New technology has improved baggage handling, but not enough to eliminate scenes like this.
How long you been in?
Oh, about 20 minutes.
Check. Go there by the desk and he'll check. It's usually here in area number 1.
Please come to the nearest white courtesy telephone of United Airlines. Mr. Villiers.
Just one bag.
City runner, claim area. To the nearest white courtesy telephone of United
Missing one off of 917 on a brown preprint. Okay, thanks a lot. Give me about 5 minutes. Going to check a couple other locations, see if they get anything over there.
See, there weren't that many passengers on my flight by the time I got here, and I was about the first passenger off.
What type of a bag was it?
About this profile, but light blue.
Hey, let me check in the bag.
It might be in San Francisco. Las Vegas.
Mishandled baggage costs the airlines millions annually. The price of goodwill often covering claims which are something less than genuine.
Yes, I know.
Like every other airline, United has this back room where the real casualties end up, the sad strays and the broken down remnants of many a spoiled weekend.
You're looking at a bag, that's where they'd be, right there.
In fact, even these usually find their way home thanks largely to the computer and its elephantine memory.
What is it that's missing?
It is missing a pole vault. So here we're going to tell the computer it's the first bag in there, the remarks, and it's a pole vault.
How'd you lose a pole vault?
I don't know. It's pretty easy. We've had cases where people have missed snakes and baggage, this pole vault, antlers, people on hunting trips. We get all sorts of weird things down here.
No, we've got stuff in our bag strings.
Just felt season.
It happens.
99% of the people who come into our office, we have mishandled. We've lost them or their baggage or damaged their baggage beyond repair, and we've done them in. So it takes a special kind of person to help these people out.
When you work the claim area itself during a very busy period, sometimes the people will come up to you and grab you by the arm, swing you around. They're hot, you know, and the guy wants to go ahead and punch you, he can, and technically that's your job.
Your last name?
Ankerbrandt, A-N-K-E-B-R-A-N-T.
First initial?
R.
Now, if you wait around for your bags, and we wait for the next trip back from Des Moines and the next trip in from Washington, if they're not on either one of those two trips, what will you be doing? Still staying here in Chicago? You don't know?
We don't know.
Okay.
I think instead now I'm stuck staying here. But I guarantee you one thing, my temper might not be.
Well, it's up to you. If you want to go head down to Springfield, we can get the bags and forward them to you in Springfield.
Yeah, but I need the bags. You know, it's a little hard to have kids sleep in the same clothes. They come in and move around it.
Yeah.
I had a gentleman last winter that came up to me, and in attempting to grab me, he grabbed my tie, and he pulled the tie off. So we went to what we call breakaway ties now, where he wants to take your tie, he can take it.
Okay, they're bringing down a bag now. It's a city bag, and they don't have any identification marks on it. So I'd like to have you take a look at that bag. Maybe it might possibly be yours.
Well, I'll give it another 5 minutes or so. Sure.
Okay.
The head of consumer affairs at United is Kay Lund. When the customer complains, she hears about it. And when, at the peak of the boom, she addressed the executive board, she did not mince words.
Okay. Good morning. I would like to share with you today really some news about consumer affairs and just bring you up to date in two general areas. First, give you some insight into the volumes and kinds of letters that we are receiving from customers this year. And two, advise you of some new developments. Our customers have been speaking out in record numbers this year. In this single month, our complaint letters were up 122%, and our compliments up 65%. And we expect June and August also to be blockbusters. Because passenger boardings have increased dramatically this year, I think it's only fair to offer a ratio that compares our complaints received per 100,000 passengers boarded. And here it is on this screen compared with last year. Except for 2 months, we are receiving more complaints per 100,000 passengers boarded than ever before. But I did not want to dwell too heavily on statistics today. I would rather share a few trends with you, and I would like to move on to 2 trends that I think are very obvious, certainly to us and to you this summer. First, the full-fare traveler is expressing dissatisfaction in more vocal tones than we have ever seen before in our mail. I think this letter from a gentleman in Wisconsin, and it was handwritten, by the way, we thought summarized it very well and typified the comments that we're seeing today. And to quote him, he said, "The cut rate fares have certainly filled up your planes, and this probably makes you feel good. But I can tell you that the full fare businessman who is paying full fare and really supporting the airlines now has to put up with many inconveniences." And he said, "I can tell you I hate to fly anymore."
I think that anyone who's been travelling by air for some years will have noticed that air travel has in general become more impersonal, less comfortable, less elegant. Do you think that this is an inevitable trend?
Against this backdrop, this discussion, I'd like you to keep in mind that fares today are a consumer's bonanza. But yes, I think we are going to a transportation system that is less personalized, less luxurious than it used to be. We'll carry easily 40 million passengers this year. That's moving a lot of people around the country. And I think people will have to realize also that for these low fares and for the convenience of this transportation system, you sacrifice a little luxury, a little space, you experience a less personalized level of service. Air travel is not the big thing it used to be. Look at the way people dress today. When I grew up and we went on an airplane trip, you wore your Sunday best, and you might put on white gloves and a hat. And anymore, you travel in your blue jeans and your running shoes, and it's a very casual thing. People accept it. Watch how children grow up with air travel today. They grow up with it very, very naturally. It's become the bus service of the nation.
Whose dog is that one over there? My dog. What's he doing in there? She's going to fly on a plane to Washington, D.C.
But even today, no bus service ever gave its passengers what the airlines provide as a matter of course. Whether it's pets or unaccompanied children, special provisions are made.
Coming in on 367, connecting North Central, Flight 705, to RST, which is Rochester, Minnesota. We have an unaccompanied Heltne.
Could you spell that, please? Heltne. Okay.
The extra staff needed to care for young children and other special travellers is one more cost in the price of all plane tickets. As costs are pruned and services simplified, one wonders if these special provisions will survive.
Over to your next flight, okay? How was your trip so far?
This is the wheelchair center. How soon would you be ready to pre-board a wheelchair passenger? Okay, fine, thank you. We'll send them right down.
Despite everything the airlines can do for passengers, despite all the technology, even for the able-bodied, air travel today can be an ordeal. Something very simple can utterly paralyze the system.
Box 4, heavy thunderstorms in the next half hour. Be prepared to ground your airplanes.
Fog, snow, and fierce storms can still keep planes grounded for hours or even days. Passengers pile up at airports, checking in for flights that will not move. This is the worst aspect of air travel today, getting marooned with thousands of others in the concrete desolation of a great air terminal at the mercy of foul weather. And it happens often enough to wipe out what remains of the romance of flying. The airlines know this very well. unsaid. Airports certainly do get us down. As they get bigger and busier, we the passengers become more confused, bored, angry and frustrated. We suffer increasingly from stress failure, from airport heart attacks and nervous breakdowns. In Chicago, to add to the normal aggravations, they regularly have the kind of weather that brings flying to a complete halt. The men who have to keep the planes rolling.
We'll save a lot of overtime doing it this way. Good decision.
If you stop in San Francisco, we have to recrew with pilots also. Well, darn right. Plus, probably having a junior man in the crew, but...
Now they're adding this West Coast stop because they can only get 5 flight attendants and 7 is the legal minimum. And 14 is the usual complement. And I better warn Ed over here in O'Hare.
Yeah, tell him to come through.
Ed, another problem has reared its ugly head on Flight 3. When we asked about flight attendants, Board SW says they have only 5 overwater flight attendants. It takes a minimum of 7 to operate the flight.
To run an airline that flies 364 aircraft over an 18,000-mile route system serving 113 cities, to get the aircraft and the crews in the right place at the right time, and to select the most economical way of doing it, is a task of such importance and complexity that it can only be done with the help of United's Apollo computer. This dependency has made the airline ever more nervous of the possibility, however remote, of sabotage.
So much so that they've asked me not to reveal where their main computer center is. So all I shall say is that somewhere, way out west, on top of a hill, in a rather fortress-like building, is the home of Apollo.
Behind the iron gates and all the sophisticated electronic protection lies one of the largest computers not in the hands of the American Armed Forces. In its shining air-conditioned palace, Apollo enables United Airlines to function, even at a time when everything is straining at the seams. The tasks performed by it and its fellow systems grow more involved daily. Apart from reservations, they look after the inventories of spare parts, keep the accounts, pay the wages and salaries, and even help train the pilots. As a United Airlines passenger, it's hardly an exaggeration to say that you're in the hands of the computer from the moment you make your booking. And yet, we judge an airline not by its technology, but by the human touch.
You wanted yours with rum, though. Ooh, that's going to be a strong one. I think I overdid it.
United's prestigious Flight Number 1 from Chicago to Hawaii. On this flight, the airline will attempt to provide some of the elegance and service that has been a traditional part of air travel. Little touches like plastic flowers, exotic drinks, and even special uniforms for the flight attendants. 9 hours non-stop to Hawaii. 40 years ago, when the luxurious flying boats first flew this route, the same journey took 48 hours, and it was exclusively for the rich. Today, even traveling first class and enjoying much of the comfort of the past, the fare is a fraction of what they paid in the 30s.
These are poo-poos.
What was that?
Poo-poos. That's Hawaiian for hors d'oeuvres.
Give her some wine or champagne with your dinner?
It's little wonder that a recent survey revealed that the American public, facing persistent inflation, finds air travel the best bargain going. But all this, one should remember, is first class.
Oh, this is very good. Dressing is Japanese dressing. Would you like pepper?
This is just a salad. The entree will be coming very shortly.
Back in the economy section, among the bargain hunters, comparisons with the past are even more astounding.
Oh, Would you like some soft drinks or milk with your lunch?
Incredibly, it's more than twice as cheap to fly to Hawaii than it was 40 years ago. But the only luxury provided here is the prose style of the menu.
Royal Hawaiian specialty, chicken teriyaki. Tender chicken is marinated in a special teriyaki sauce, baked until golden brown and surrounded by Hawaiian-style rice and a combination of crispy oriental vegetables. Sounds mouth-wateringly good, as the advertisers would say. Well, that's what it looks like. And well, it's different.
Nothing special for the crew. They eat the same as the economy class passengers. Except they must all choose a different dish. In case of food poisoning, there'll be enough survivors to complete the journey. Today, on a long-haul flight, the greatest problem for passengers and crew alike is boredom. At least in first class, there is a seemingly endless provision of titbits and free drinks to pass the time. And even more important, on a 747, there's the extra space of the upstairs lounge, where you can stretch your legs, play cards, or even sleep. On this journey, it was little used and seemed like wasted space. Space that would have been so welcome to those cooped up in the economy sections. Here, passengers are discouraged from moving around.
Here you are, a middle-aged man, suddenly finds himself alone, grows a beard, goes berserk with his sexual fantasies. Please, stop with the psychology 101.
Do it real easy.
Fortunately, the in-flight entertainment is occasionally supplemented by a resourceful passenger.
How do you do that? Now, this is the easy way to do it. See?
All right, now.
Now, you want to see a hard one? That's an easy way to do it.
He wants to see you do another one.
So today, in the age of mass mobility, 60 years after it all started, air travel is no longer a luxury product. In the old days, there were bars, beds, and even honeymoon suites. Meals were served as in a first-class restaurant, and the flight attendant's job was undoubtedly glamorous. Today, on a full wide-bodied jet carrying 400 passengers, cabin crew face an exhausting spell of fetching and carrying, followed by complete collapse. But still, thousands of girls dream of the day that they'll pin on their wings and take to the air.
Bunny Durakis, Lisa Sabo. Sue Kelson, Nancy Camacho. Irene Morton, Lori Hardy.
It's graduation day for a new flock of flight attendants. They enter the industry at a time of rapid change. The future could well see 600-seat aircraft, self-service meals, and a job for them that loses its glossy appeal. But that's tomorrow. For these girls, today is the day.
Kiss today goodbye. The sweetness and the sorrow. Wish me luck the same to you. But we can't regret what we did for love, what we did for love. Look, my eyes are dry. This dream was ours to borrow. It's as if we always knew. But we won't forget what we did for love, what we did for love. Gone, love is never gone. As we travel
This was the picture of air travel at the end of 1978. United was recruiting not just cabin crew, but staff of all kinds to deal with the apparently limitless flow of new travellers by air. Certainly no one who worked on the airlines in '78 will ever forget it. It was the year in which planes flew fuller, profits were greater, tempers shorter, and hopes higher than ever before in aviation history. Yet within 12 months, the picture had changed again. For United, there was a string of setbacks. A major accident, a protracted strike, the fuel crisis that threatened all airlines, and finally the grounding of the ill-fated DC-10s. United was operating 37 of them, and to lose them for so long must have been the most damaging blow. How far do you think that the confidence of the travelling public has been undermined by the DC-10 accident?
Our total fleet is flying. We've had absolutely no adverse public comment regarding the TC-10s, because I think the American traveling public know that air transportation is the safest form of travel ever known to man. And they probably have a great deal of faith that the system that has created that form of travel is continuing. We certainly are not going to put a DC-10 in the air that costs $40 million, and it has our 3 pilots up there. They aren't going to fly it unless they're darn comfortable that we've got a very safe airplane. And we take that responsibility very seriously. We have a rule of 5. It's the credo by which we live at United Airlines. And the first rule is safety. Nothing will be done on this airline that compromises safety. We sell safety, I think, as we were talking earlier, Julian. What do you buy? You buy first a ticket at a price. You buy service, and you buy safety. You assume that you're going to get there safely. Well, I think our record speaks for itself. Now, occasionally, you are going to have, and I hope on a rare occasion, a tragic accident, like the DC-10 incident here in Chicago. God hope that we can find the answers, all the answers. To this day, we don't know all the answers. This was trialed in the press much too quickly. High technology, remember first it was the bolt, then it was the aft pylon, then it went to here, then it went to there, then it was the slats. You can't jump, you cannot solve the world's problems in a 1-hour television program, nor can you define the cause of the DC-10 accident.
A year ago when I talked to you, you were very, very confident. It was the greatest year the airline had ever had. Despite everything that's happened since then you are still feeling reasonably confident.
Not reasonably. I'm very optimistic about air travel and the airline industry. I think it's entering a growth phase that's going to make previous growth look small. You're looking at growth last year of 16%. Average growth this year, 8-9%. And that's real growth. That's not inflation. We're not talking about dollars and cents. We're talking about revenue, passenger miles. That's people in a plane flying someplace. That's up 9% this year. That's a lot.
So maybe this time the airlines will not slide right off the crest of the wave. According to some experts, the rising price of fuel may even help the industry, as Americans leave their cars at home and take to the air for their longer journeys. In 1979, US Airlines will have carried more than 300 million passengers, well up on '78's record high. By the end of the century, they expect 500 million a year. Long before then, air travel will have lost any final vestige of elitism. It will be ordinary in every sense, an indispensable part of daily life.
United Airlines reservations, Miss Nixon, may I help you?
Yes, I'd like to make a reservation for sometime on Sunday, August 27th. And I was wondering what flights you have.
Where to, sir?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, that will help.
Yeah, I know. To Providence, Rhode Island from Chicago.
Chicago to Providence?
Yeah.
Splendid.
Now, do you have a special cheap flight or a cheap fare or anything when I do this?
Well, sir, I thought you'd never ask. I think we can take care of you. Now, you're on the Friendly Skies Flight 562. We'll put you in Providence at 8:33.
Great.
And that's a non-stop dinner flight.
Oh, great.
We promise you everything and give you nothing.
Okay.
Okay, sir, you're all set.
Okay.
Goodbye.